Well, hello there, people. Welcome to another edition of Tip Tuesday. Jeffrey Nance here with you. Last week we looked at the topic of getting started. So we talked about it being a new year and how New Year's can mean new opportunities. But really, if we see a new opportunity, there's no reason we should wait to a certain date to start. The best day to start doing something new is today. So I think if you guys are like most people, what you will find is that we have a tendency to say, "Oh, I'm going to try to start something," but then we pick some future time. It's rarely ever today. So, oh, I'm going to start doing this. Oh, well, I'll start on Monday. Oh, well, I'll start in January. It's like, oh, I'm going to lose some weight, but it's November. We got Thanksgiving coming up. We got Christmas coming up. I'm not going to start now. I'll forget it. I'll do it in January. Oh, I'm going to start working out. It's Wednesday. I don't want to start on a Wednesday. I'll start on Monday. And then if something happens on Monday, we're like, yeah, maybe I'll go on Tuesday. But if it gets to Wednesday, we're like, yeah, forget it. I'll start next week. So part of the issue that we have with actually making progress on anything that needs to be changed in our life is just simply the idea that we will do it later. We will do it later. You know, there's a joke that a teacher told a student one time. That they would because they procrastinated, they'd never amount to anything. And the guy responded back to her, "Well, you'll just have to wait and see." and and to me, that's kind of there's a lot of truth in that when we have a tendency to put things off and then expect that they'll still get done. If I were to say, all right, there's dishes sitting in the sink, they need to be done. When should I do them? Should I do them now? Should I do them later? Should I wait a few days and just see if it just magically gets better somehow just sitting there? I think all of us would realize, look, if you don't do anything differently, then you get the same results. So if anything, if you don't take care of those dishes, then they're just going to pile up and you'll have even more. So, guys, anything that you feel like the Lord is leading you to make changes in your life, whether that specifically has to do with trading, which is kind of something we'll focus on today, or whether it's really any area of your life, the key to actually beginning to make changes is to make a decisive statement that I will do it now. And again, this is very biblical too. When Jesus was approached by people, he would heal them, but he would often heal them now. And you would see the word immediately attached to these interactions. So an encounter with Jesus, most often for those that allowed it to, was something that had an impact immediately, right? And then so after he would heal them, he would then say to them, go and sin no more. That was often something he would say. There was a man who, he had been in chains and he was cutting himself and he was hollering and just, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And this guy gets healed by Jesus. The demons come out of him and he says, Jesus, I want to follow you. And Jesus says to him, no. That's surprising to us because we would think, sure, man, Jesus would be all about this guy. Like, look at the testimony that guy has. He was running around like a crazy naked man, breaking chains. Like, this is amazing. Like, just sign him up for the power team kind of thing. And Jesus says to him, no, why don't you go back to the city that you're from and tell them what happened to you? See, his testimony was already in effect. Here's the way I was, and I'm not that way anymore. But the change in him was immediately. What I found ironic about that particular story over the last few years is that some people come from the city, and it says that they see him in his mind and fully clothed, and they become afraid. Like, that's such a weird statement to me, that they see this man just acting normal and fully dressed, and they're like, what's going on here? So they're so used to seeing him not that way that all of a sudden he's made this immediate change and it stands out to them and they become afraid because they know something significant has happened. Guys, listen, the idea that we recognize that we need something to change is great, right? And it's something that doesn't happen often enough. We're often the last ones to recognize that we need to make changes. But once you recognize the need for a change, don't wait to change. The best time to start doing something different is right now. So let's take all of that and then let's apply it to our trading. If there are things in your trading journey that you say, I would rather have different results, then the first thing is, okay, you recognize something that needs to change. You want different results. Now, how do you get different results? So let's do this. Let's say that we were traveling north, right? So we're all in a car together, maybe a van together, and we're traveling north. And then we recognize, hey, this isn't really where we want to go. Well, I can do something immediate. I can turn right. I can turn left. I can do a U-turn. But if I don't have clarity as to what the right direction really is, then just simply changing directions doesn't mean that I produce the results that I wanted to see. So in your trading, you can do some stuff differently and you can go right or left. But if you were really supposed to go south, then going right or left or continuing to go north really does nothing for you. So you can say I'm doing something, but you're still not producing the fruit that you wanted to, because that requires that you go in the right direction. So two things about that. One, there are some very specific things that you can do to make your trading better. Some of these things are generic. Some of them are going to be very individual, applied specifically to you and to your situation, because every person's situation is a little different. This person can't take their phone into work. This person has a lot of access to the computer. They can sit in front of it all day and watch stocks if they want to, or for the most part, they can do that fairly easily. And then, of course, you have everybody that falls somewhere in between those two categories. There are some things, however, that would apply to all of us. One is we do have to have some sort of a plan. And I would say that not only do you need to have a plan, you need to have a goal or multiple goals. And then number three, you need to have a way to celebrate reaching goals. Okay, three things. All right, so let's discuss those three things in detail here. So one, I need to have a plan. All right, guys, listen, the plan can be as specific as you need it to be. If for you, in order to, maybe see some different results, it might be, listen, each night I'm going to sit down for, say, 30 minutes. I wouldn't say more than an hour. You guys, time is something we can't get back. So don't, spend too much time here and missing out on time with your kids, because that time is going to be, relatively gone, or at least that interaction that you have with them. 30 minutes, maybe you can spare that. Go sit around and do that. Take a list of stocks, narrow those stocks down, and be very specific about this. Have about 4 or 5 stocks that are at specific buy points where you say, listen, if the market moves up tomorrow, these stocks ought to be ready to go. These are recognizable patterns. They're at great buy points. Look, this is ready to go tomorrow. Then I would say have at least 1 or 2 that are the opposite. So if all of a sudden, particularly if we're at a place where we expect the market might turn, or there's uncertainty like a day like today, we're like, is the market really going up? Is it really going to recover out the 5 days? Is it really breaking through this massive resistance line we've had since 2022? If that's the case, in the midst of kind of all of this uncertainty, should I really be going bullish? So, depending on how you think through all that, you need to have a list of stocks. So 2 to 3 that are clearly ready to go up. 1 or 2 that you say, well, if the market drops, then I could do this. Now, of course, you're going to have to assess things in the morning. But if you're scrambling every morning, constantly looking after the market's open, trying to find stuff, but you're also trying to go to work, you're going to have a hard time finding probably many good trade setups because you're always going to be scrambling. You've got a big list of stocks. So if you're looking for something to do that's going to help you for a very long time, here's what I would suggest. Take a list of stocks that you really like. Now at Tradeway, if you've got charts by Tradeway, we've got multiple lists for you. You got a stock list, options list, and spreads list. But what I would encourage you, if you say to yourself, look, I know how to trade options and I do spreads, and even though you might have a preference, credit spread, debit spread, options, whatever, that's cool. But have a list that you've narrowed it down to where you see, yeah, these stocks, this group of 10 has really defined movements. Like, I mean, if we can see a line, that thing is going to be support. That thing is going to be resistance. When that thing hits a moving average, it pivots off of it. Could be the 5, could be the 10, 20, whatever. But if it hits it, it pivots off of it. That would be one thing I'd be looking at. The other thing is, what are the options like? Go out there and find a small list, like a relatively small list, 10 or something like that. Stocks that have really, really great spreads on the options. Like I'm talking like a few pennies. This will do a couple of things for you. It means that at any point that stock is in a place where you should be entering or exiting. There's so much liquidity out there with the small spreads that you can get in and out very quickly without having to wonder whether or not the spreads on this are terrible or whether it's doable. So go out there, find you a list, take the time. Now, guys, listen, this is going to involve some serious time. Now, I lead a group and I did this for them. I went out there and I found a list of stocks where they have 5-cent spreads for 3 strike prices in and out of the money for weekly spreads. So I've already done that for them. But if you don't have somebody that's already done that for you, and you're not part of a group where that stuff is available, then you're going to have to do this on your own. And I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, it took me about 3 months to do this by myself the first time. Now I've had some of my students help me with it the last few years that we've updated this list. But go and create that list. What it's going to do is twofold. One is it gives you a really great working list. But 2, think about it, guys. If you've got 10 stocks, that's plenty to trade. And if none of those stocks are in a good position where they're making predictable, repeatable, and reliable patterns, maybe that's not the best time to be trading anyway. So there's you don't need to go spend a bunch of time, trying to go through it and make something up. Just say, I'm just going to wait a little bit till some of these patterns really emerge and give me something clear to trade. One more thing about that while we're on this. Make sure that you have stocks from different industry groups. Don't go get 10 stocks that are all, oil and gas or something like that. So make sure that your list has diversity there in industry groups. That's something you need to keep in mind as well. You can have like 2 oil and gas stocks or whatever, but just don't fill it up where that's the primary thing, because otherwise you're going to get similar movements at similar times. All right, so now, if you have narrowed that list down, then it's going to take you a lot less time. So I said, maybe you spend 30 minutes. Well, listen, if you're only looking at like 10 really good stocks and you're trying to get that list down to 3 or 4 a night, it's going to take you not 30 minutes, maybe take you 5-10 minutes. That's not a lot of time, guys. That's not a lot of commitment, but you're still going to be putting yourself in a position to really act the following day. All right. So have a plan. Number 2, act on that plan, right? So you need to have a goal. So you say, Geoffrey, if I'm going to try to create these habits, I'm going to try to do these things, then I got to find some way to be driven. Goals have a tendency to drive us. If all we're doing is we're treating trading like, hey, I want to make some money, then that's kind of like a business. I go to work and I get a paycheck. I go to work and I get a paycheck. I go to work and I get a paycheck. If you're treating trading like that, then at some point you're going to realize, okay, this is my job. Now, maybe it's a job that you enjoy and that's cool and you do really well with it, but it's still a job because all your motivation is just money, right? So I would say, yes, have monetary goals, have very specific monetary goals, by the way, but have your goals tied into something that's beyond just money. What do I mean by that? Have your goals tied to something that really brings joy to you. Okay. So maybe for you, that's saying, man, if I could give X amount of dollars to this organization, whether that be my church or something else, that would make me excited. Like I would want to put in the time and effort to know that I am doing this trading stuff so that I can help these people, so that I can give this to this church, so that I can give this money to this missionary, so that I can go do these random acts of kindness, so that I can do this for my family, for the generations to come, so that I can do this event, this trip with my spouse. Like, see, those are the things that will motivate you when you kind of sit there and you go, do I want to put in the work today? If you're focused on the goal and that goal is motivating enough, then you'll make it through the rough times. You'll make it through just kind of the blah 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 times. Why? Because you're focused on not just the goal, but the reason behind the goal. And that brings me to point number 3, guys. Celebrate goals. When people win games, they celebrate. When people win trophies, they celebrate. There is a reason why you created a goal. Goals ought to be celebrated. When you reach your goal, take some time to enjoy progress. Take some time to enjoy this idea that you did things well enough to reach your goal and go enjoy it. Do something special. Do something different. Don't just reach your goal and be like, no. If that's true and you just reach your goal and you go, then that goal is not big enough. That goal is not important enough. Okay. Our goals ought to motivate us, and our goals ought to thrill us when we reach them. So 3 things. You got some changes. You know you need to make some changes. Great. That's last week. This week, now. I recognize that change needs to occur. Now let's go do it. Let's take action, very practical action steps, so that we can start to work towards seeing very different results. That's our tip for today. Thanks for being with us. For those of y'all that are watching later, I hope you enjoy this and that you're able to take these steps and actually do some stuff with us. So if you have any comments or anything like that, drop those over and let us know if this is helping you and you thought this was some really good stuff, very practical. We want it to be. So appreciate you being with us and look forward to having you reach your goals so that we can celebrate with you. The Bible says, rejoice with those who rejoice. So we sure would love to be able to do that with you. We do what we do. All right. I tell people in my Top Gun Elite program, my goal is to help you reach your goals. All right, guys. So you're here with us today on Tip Tuesday. I want to see you have goals. I would love to see you reach your goals so we can celebrate together. Thanks. We'll see you next time.